speaker is, of course, Jessica Odle-Baril. Jessica has a very storied career in many, many different fields on entrepreneurship, diplomacy, government service, etc. And she's larger than life. She's really a great advocate for cancer services. She in fact was the inaugural chairman of the Barbados American Cancer Association, and was instrumental also in developing a sister branch in Barbados called the Barbados Association for Cancer Advocacy. Um, she and and others have been advocating for some time now for a palliative care facility in Barbados. There's none, as you know. And she's going to talk about where we are with that project. She is, just to mention some of her accolades, she was the senator in the Barbados Parliament, Consul General of Barbados at New York, assistant to the Prime Minister, and now Director of Protocol for the Prime Minister's Office. And I present to you now a lady who needs no introduction, actually, Jessica Odle-Baril. Jessica.
Thank you so much, O'Neill. I feel honored to be with this very esteemed group of panelists this evening. And I am speaking from my heart. I have one single slide, which we'll see at the end, because that will tell you and show you where we are. But as O'Neill pointed out, the need for hospice and palliative care in Barbados is grave. At the moment, palliative care is managed by the Barbados Association of Palliative Care, the president of whom is a member of the BACA Barbados, simplified BACA Barbados. This gives tremendous assistance to the very much needed hospital beds at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, where, Dr. Macmillan, a lot of people just send their old people and leave them there because they're not able to or don't want to or can't afford to take care of them at home, even though they don't have a life-threatening illness, they're just old. So the BARPAC does its bit, but it is really insufficient and it is dreadfully expensive. We all now believe that voluntarism in case of hospice helps to carry some of the costs of the burden. Unlike the US, it is not covered care. So as I listened to your presentation, Dr. Macmillan, somebody gonna have to bring up a policy about making this part of the offerings in what is really a free health service in Barbados, because for those who are not aware, health care is pretty much free in Barbados at the public setting. Of course, you pay to go to your doctors and so on. And of course, the challenges with free health care is you have to wait your turn. And sometimes, especially in critical illness like cancer, time is not your friend. And so the hospice initiative really started. O'Neill Paris is a very modest man, but it was his idea. And he brought it to the New York diaspora years ago and encouraged the organizations to start raising money towards a project of a hospice, a freestanding hospice in Barbados, where, of course, palliative care will take place also. So O'Neill, kudos to you, but he has kept us going. It has been difficult, challenging. COVID knocked all of the wind out of our sails. I can't stress enough of that. And really, we started over again as recently as 3 years ago. By starting over, I meant going back to government. And I'm pleased to tell you that the government only 2 months ago finally signed an agreement for the lease of a property at a peppercorn rate for 25 years, renewable. And that rate is $1,200 a month. $1,200 a year, I believe that's the math. So we have Coverley House, which is an old estate property. The challenge is it took so long. When we finally got to the bottom, we discovered it was rotten to the core, so it has to be demolished. And they've agreed to give us a free and clear space to build anew from the ground up. We have town planning approval for the project. The project is identified to be the need was a 14-bed hospice. And since the years have advanced from the Barbados, a report that was done about the needs for hospice care, the feeling is that no more than 18 beds, 14 to 18 beds is what is needed. So we're using a phased approach of construction, and we will have 2 buildings, and the first building has 9 beds. And when we get to the slide, I'll tell you, Janelle, you'll see how that's laid out. It is in a salubrious setting, or it will be when we're done with it, with a windmill which cannot be touched. So you begin to create some, Dr. Millen, of what you talked about, that atmosphere that's peaceful, a lot of green space on the outside, and a functional internal setting where care of palliation, spiritual enlightening as needed, and so on can occur. The cost of this hospice is projected at 2.5 million Barbados dollars. We still have a long, long way to go in raising the much needed funds, but we have enough to get us to where we are. The architect has already been partially paid. The quantity surveyor is about to be paid. We're building relationships with corporate Barbados for photovoltaic panels on the roof so we can begin to generate some ongoing revenue. Because to build is one thing, but we have to maintain it thereafter. And this evening is not the time for all the details, but to give notice to the Barbadian community and others on this call, and to those Barbadians and others who are on this panel. We still need all the help we can get, and we can fine tune that, what it looks like. So 9 beds in the first instance. Our ongoing support includes government subvention, because at the time that they gave us the agreement on the lease, which is actually in draft as we speak, we still have to sign it. Government takes a while, T's to cross, I's to dot, but we're patient. We've been waiting, getting more and more gray and more bald in some instances. But a subvention is also committed as part of the overall package. A subvention will give some cash support. No number was mentioned, but you know that there'll be some financial base coming at you, legislated annually, certainly under this particular government. Governments change, politicians come and go, so we hope that we will be able to be advocates sufficient to continue to implement and to request the demands for a palliative and hospice care facility. The model looks at shared space. In the first bank of rooms, it's 2 rooms, 2 beds per room, and 1 single, which of course would attract a paying customer. The model looks at those who cannot afford to pay. The equivalent of the Social Security in Barbados will help offset. So if a senior citizen goes to a nursing home, there's a program which sees their income, their pensionable income from government, going towards offsetting the cost of their accommodations. And that same kind of model is anticipated in terms of them being a hospice facility as opposed to a nursing home. Of course, ongoing fundraising. There are a lot of deep pocket people in Barbados, on island and outside. And there are a lot of people who love Barbados and who understand what it is like, even to pass in a beautiful place like Barbados. And there are life stories where people came to Barbados to pass their last days. This facility is not far from Brathwaite International Airport. There is no sound of planes overhead, but an easy transition. So if you came here by your ambulance, you could be at our Coverley Hospice in 5 minutes and enjoy the salubrious atmosphere. There's also an intention to have a thrift shop on location at Building 2, and some retail space for pharmacy or clinician of some sort or sorts to help generate revenue to help offset the brunt of the working capital for the property. We also have enough space to do farm to table. Small, but we believe in Barbados that everybody has to grow something. And so there is enough room for a few beds. So some of that produce will become usable in the hospice, and we will build relationship. We cannot run a hospice farm to garden. So you draw in community to be a part of the workings. This is important because cancer and end of life generally in the Caribbean and specifically in Barbados, nobody wants to talk about it. It's still talked about behind closed hands. And so as soon as our contract or lease is signed, we are going on site with an educational piece because we're nestled, the hospice will be nestled in a community. Some new buildings are going around it, and there's an old Coverley aspect. And we're going to invite the community in, because people don't want people to die anywhere near them for some strange reason, even though we die in our own homes. So the education piece, and Madam Sincere, and I love that name, perhaps we can invite you to Barbados to be a part of some sort of training. I don't throw that as a sprat to catch a whale, but the value of the information we've gathered this evening, there's a role for so many and all of us to play as we build out this much needed hospice. Construction is going to be at least 2 years out. It takes that long to finalize the paperwork, break ground, and get going. There is quiet conversation about an interim space. An offer has come on the table, a property which they're prepared, because the offerer, their own small hospital is now being used. People are paying to have a bed, paying a high price. And they have a facility which they said they could retrofit. In other words, make sure it's easily transferable. And BACA Barbados will then look for the beds to put in there so that we have something to keep us going until the mainframe structure and the hospice is constructed. So there's a lot going on. It's a lot of work for very few people. And I see some of the BACA Barbados members are on the screen, the BACA USA members on this program as well. So the cry continues to go on and on and on, and it's not over until it is over. So to sum up, Janelle, if you could share for me the footprint of the floor plan of the hospice. This is listed as Block A. In a hospice setting, what you're seeing at the top of the screen is really some storage, because there's a number of things needed, and an exit space. Hospice entrance and exit are never the same place. And so in reverse, if you may slide the screen up, the top right corner is the single bed space, of course, en suite. Across from that would be 2 beds en suite with enough space so that a family member may be in a chair, because we value and understand very much the need for the loved one to have somebody close to them. Of course, the rooms, this is a footprint, would be privacy screens, etc. As we continue to go down on the left side, all of the beds, all the rooms are double 2 bedrooms with all the accoutrements. And then you come into the mainstay services of the hospital. I can barely read this thing without my glasses. Areas for staff, which is critical. The nurses would make good note of this. You come in with the medical director, the very secure drug room attached to the medical director's space, and most importantly, next to that, the nurses' station. The nurses' station is at item number 4, as you can see, and ignore the checklist on the right-hand side. Item 4 is the area where you will come into the main space. Missing from this are the balconies that will come off of each room. I was one of those adamant that the bed must be able to be rolled out so that they can see green as needed, and the architect has factored that in, and the next incarnation will have that for us. As we continue down, we, of course, the necessary space of a restore night room if a member of staff needs to just catch their breath and so on, and a number of bathrooms, etc., which are understood. Keep going up, Janelle, please. And then into the common spaces. On your right is the main entrance to the hospice with a visitor's reception. And then the main room, it is at the moment set up like a sitting room and a dining space, but it is a multi-purpose space where if a patient is able enough and they wanted to do some drawing, or if there was somebody who wanted to come and talk about whatever, that this is a common space which can be formatted to fit the needs on any given occasion. Across from that, of course, much needed laundry, cleaning, and food. And that is it in a real fast snapshot picture. Janelle, thank you for that. Right. So in summing up, at the moment, palliative care at great cost. And if I may add, and again, sincerely, truth is the education around what palliative care is a big, big work still to be completed. And we will be utilizing, Barbados is small, everybody knows that, but CBC, because people watch TV early in the morning and so on, and find ways to showcase what palliation is. I have somebody say to me when I asked, we had a hospital bed, if they thought that they'd like to have the hospital bed for the comfort of their loved one. We're not ready for that yet. He was dead in 2 weeks. And she wasn't ready to deal with it. Diane Sobers, and I don't know if Diane is on the program, who heads up Barbados Association for Palliative Care, singularly manages, with the help of a team around her and doctors, that palliative care program on the ground in homes in Barbados. It costs a lot to have round-the-clock medical nursing care. And so having palliation in a hospice would significantly reduce the burden on individual families. We can't assume that everybody can afford it. And you can look at people, Barbados is a place where people look at you and think you got X, Y, or Z. Well, put that out the window. And so this facility will offer much needed support in that regard. We have money to raise. We're looking at 2.5 million to build out our first 9 beds. And we are going to continue to build relationships across the island and outside. Barbados is small, and everything we need cannot happen on the 166 square miles. And so we've been blessed to have had donations from across the diaspora, the organizations, particularly based in New York. Canada is on the radar, UK is on the radar, and O'Neill is really an advocate in raising funds those ways. And as we sat on this call, I just had another thought of a fundraiser. I'm not going to share it now, but it will come up because the word genes has been mentioned many times today, and that's going to be playing a role in the next fundraiser event. And so I in this very quick snapshot, tell you that we are on target. Hopefully by 2 years at Coverley House in Barbados, we will have the first freestanding hospice in Barbados. And I'm happy to take questions if there are any that I can answer furthermore. Thank you very much indeed.